Hello, today for review I've got yet another model by FiiO. It's FH3. If you're familiar with FiiO's lineup, you can easily understand that it's a hybrid in-ear monitors, and you can predict that it's a model targeted towards upper entry or lower medium level, because it should be located somewhere below the FH5 and above FH1S. And it's true, it's 3 drivers hybrids with single dynamic driver and dual balanced armatures, made by Knowles, and price segment is $160, and it's a really fairly balanced price, because FiiO implemented here some of technologies they used in more advanced and more expensive models, so it's a really promising hybrid model that definitely will gather a lot of attention. If I'd wanted to make some hype, probably I named this review something like New Chi-Fi King or New Giant Killer or something like that, but I don't like such cheap ways of getting attention, so it's just a review of FiiO's FH3, and let's have a closer look. So the box is pretty traditional, it's black cardboard with nice polygraphy, not much details here, just basic information, and inside we'll have the pretty big manual, as you can see, really big book about the FiiO, how to wear them, warranty terms and conditions, but actually no technical specifications printed. I think it's a bit of miss here. So earphones themselves, as you can see, presentation is done nicely, everything is packaged with attention to details, and predictably here the buyer will get FiiO's signature storage case, a bit reminding Pelican one, and even additional pouch for storage, so it's not always convenient to carry this big box with you. So to carry just earphones you can use this case, and you will have big viable set of tips. So let's probably open them, and I'll show a few pieces from each bag. So traditional white silicone with red stamps, pure gray silicones. So here are foam tips, 2 pairs. So nice classical foams. And the tips that I currently use, gray ones with red stamps. So if you've seen previous reviews of previous FiiO models, you're probably familiar with these tips, because FiiO use them actively with their earphones. They all offer a bit different sound, but usually this one gray with red stamps give me the most balanced sound. In terms of design, they of course remind FH5 and FH7, but a bit smaller and a tad bit simpler. So shells are made of metal, no shiny parts, nothing like that, and the size is a bit smaller, so they will fit into small ears a bit better. They have really good wearing ergonomics, because no sharp edges, nothing to touch your ears and irritate them. There is a pressure relief hole, and shape overall is pretty ergonomic. Spouts have above average length and have a proper angle to fit inside of ears, so sound isolation is even a bit above average, lip for holding the tips, protective grill, so everything is done nicely. And level of metal work and craftsmanship is pretty good. Nice wavy pattern, so all the necessary stuff is done well. Here used MMCX connectors. They are pretty tight. Actually, let me pull it out. Maybe left one will be a bit easier to remove. Yep, so as you can see, really tight fitting connectors. And they click back in place. And cable is nice. We've seen it with few previous models by FiiO. It's medium in terms of softness, but thanks to these ear hooks, no big microphonic effect. It's also not getting hard when it's cold outside. And if you don't like this cable, there are a lot of third-party options. Actually, FiiO recently released really high-end cable, LCRE. It's waiting for its review. We'll review it in some near future. Here is splitter with chin slider, and after splitter it goes, two cables goes in parallel way down to the angle jack, also made of metal, so everything is built really well, really high level of execution, really wide accessory set, nice packaging, so all the exterior stuff made by FiiO at the highest possible level in this price range, I think. And of course, about the sound, I forgot to mention that also in the accessory set there is a cleaning brush. Maybe it's important for someone. And in terms of sound, they are done in a really pleasant and enjoyable way to please the biggest amount of audience. It's a V-shaped signature, but V-shaped signature done really in a really proper way. Here used, if I remember right, 10mm beryllium plated diaphragm dynamic driver to produce fast and powerful bass, and two Knowles balanced armatures to give you the best mids and treble performance. Let's have some player on the table, and I thought that it would be logical to use something made by FiiO to demonstrate the player. In terms of technical specifications, they are also fairly balanced, 114 decibels of sensitivity and 24 ohms of impedance. Not too high, not too low, really good, well-balanced figures. And about the cable, forgot to mention that it's monocrystalline silver-plated copper. So I burned them in for about 60 hours, but it didn't change sound much, so no long burn-in required here. So just select the tips that will give you the best isolation and the best sound. For me it's this gray with red stems, but it depends, of course, because all ears are different. Lows are accented, but accent isn't big. It's just about 8 to 10 decibels comparing with the with the lowest part of mid, so the difference is less than 10 decibels, and it can be considered as an average accent of low frequencies, so it's enough to make bass more prominent, more powerful, but at the same time it's not too big to make the bass heavy signature, to make them muffled or veiled or something like that. Bass is pretty technical. Actually it's sounding a bit on the drier side of things, because it's not trying to be super weighty or sloppy. It's pretty fast, it's tight with good impact. It goes pretty deep, maybe not to the maximum depth, but anyway, depth is pretty good, and actually deeper layers of bass are not rolled off comparing with mid bass, so they are also present and audible, but at the same time lowest parts of bass are not dominating. So it's for me it's almost perfect low frequencies, the most balanced. It's not super thunder-like or impactful low frequencies like some models try to offer, but at the same time it's fairly balanced. It's pretty good with a good body for the electronic music, and at the same time it's pretty technical for for real acoustic instruments with good texturing and so on. As an example for the low frequencies, I selected a bit unusual track, but I used this track in this purpose for a few times. It's Ghost and Meliora, or how it should be pronounced correctly, album and track named Mommy Dust, and on this album they used a pretty impactful big drum and nice, really pleasant bass line, and these earphones are playing both drums and bass guitar with nice presence and with good body, with good texturing. At the same time I could select some electronic music or something like Musica Nuda, so low frequencies here are pretty universal, especially if we remember about the price. Mids are a bit recessed comparing with lows and upper mids, but thanks to the balanced armatures here they are not sounding like moved to the second stage, and that's what I call a proper V shape. Mids have nice resolution, they are clean, crisp, without some attempts to make some highlights. They're not trying to highlight emotions, neither they don't trying to highlight the micro detalization. It's somewhere in between, so nice resolution, but not going too deep into nitpicking, so they're not sounding too clinical or too monitoring, so even with some poor records they will be at least audible. Not, of course, they with some better mastered tracks they will sounding better, but something poorly mastered will still be listenable. And they're not trying to highlight emotions or to add additional weight to the instruments in order to give you good macro dynamics. So if macro dynamics is present in track, they will play it nicely. If it's not recorded, so sorry, they just playing what is present. Pretty good in male vocal, really nice with full body and realistic instruments. Female vocals are also sounding pretty pleasant and even a bit highlighted. Three-dimensional positioning and staging is also nice, and with on tracks where present some unusual audio effects, they sounding pretty effective. So stage is above average both in width and in depth. And as an example, I got this track. It's Marillion and album Brave, probably the best album of post-Fish era. And track named Hard Is Love, so it's classical Marillion, good tunes, nice quality of record, not superb, but pretty nice. Good vocal, not Fish of course, but still really good, and thanks to resolution of this earphones, this track sounding really engaging and really really natural, so in terms of mids they are nice. And actually treble is also done really good, so spoiler, I really like these earphones and probably I like them most of all in this price range, but anyway, treble is also done pretty nice. They have slight accent on the lower treble, but upper treble is done without big accent, so if you treble sensitive, they probably will fit your tastes. If you super treble sensitive, still better listen them before buying, because they're not trying to hide the treble completely to create comfortable or soft sound. No, treble here is present and it's played with slight accent to compensate low frequencies and to give you that sense of crispness, of cleanness. Extension is slightly above average, so not super extended treble, but still pretty present and well balanced. Of course, treble layering is really basic here, but overtone saturation is nice. It's typical balanced armature treble with a bit faster attacks and decays, but sounding clean and without, without being unnatural, too metallic or something like that. And as an example of treble, I got Sting's Englishman in New York, Sting is always a good example for the treble, because all Sting's tracks are good in terms of treble. They have good, well-recorded percussion, lot of different bells, shakers and other stuff like that, so they contribute noticeable part in Sting tracks atmosphere to give this sense of airiness and lightness, and these earphones are doing really well with such percussion, playing it pretty nicely with a slight accent to sound even more engaging. In terms of pairing, they have really wide range of applications, so you can even use them with some smartphone, especially with the musical one, but of course it won't be the best possible pairing, because to unveil their full potential you will need something probably like FiiO M11 and upper. And on the other hand, actually they have a good potential, so even with FiiO M15 they still continue their growth. Maybe it's not the best pairing for above $1,000 depth, but still they have nice potential, especially if you like fun V-shaped signature. And speaking about the conversions, actually, you know, it's probably the best model for those who like V-shaped signature and for those who don't want some mids coloration. Because let's say, I don't know, the Audio L3, they are softer on the mids, they have a bit less detalization, these are more detailed on the mids, and that means less analog sound, but a bit more focused on the resolution and a bit more natural. I don't know, Hi-Fi Boy OS V3, yet another hybrid in the mid segment, so Hi-Fi Boy are more natural with less accent on low frequencies. Those have a bit these have bit more accented lows, but still sounding pretty pleasant, and a bit more accented treble, but difference isn't big. And BQ EYZ Spring 2, I reviewed them recently too. They, you know, they are a bit different in terms of tuning, they are a bit more engaging, they have a bit more energetic low frequencies, a bit more colored, with more colored signature, with a bit more energy in sound, and a bit more natural treble because of the piezo driver used there. But at the same time they are a bit more forward in terms of treble, so a bit more present treble. What I reviewed also recently, Chauzy Rouge, for example, they are more V-shaped with a bit slower but more present low frequencies and a bit more accented treble. So there are a lot of other models, I can't recall them instantly, and of course FiiO's own models, let's say FH1S. FH1S is actually not beat, they are more natural and brighter and more linear, more monitoring and dry sound, while this one is more engaging. And FH5, it's a bit different representation with less treble and a bit more weight on the mids and bass, more tightful and more impactful, so less V-shaped and less fun than those. And more expensive models, I think it's pretty obvious, they are more natural and so on, so different league of earphones. So to summarize everything and to sum up this review, FiiO really created a model with great potential, and I suppose it will get the deserved attention because it's a really nice tuned mass market earphones with good and technical V-shaped signature, nice accessory set, good build quality and really fair price. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.